Today I'm going to share with you one of my practice sessions from the Viper Pit. Occasionally I do these practice sessions where I work on complex movement patterns with light weights, pauses, to try to improve my technique. So today you're going to see some squats and some deadlifts that I'm doing in kind of a repatterning format where I'm trying to teach my brain how to do them correctly. In squatting in my sporting career, I always squatted very fast. So I would drop down rapidly and then bounce and rebound out of the hole. That was awesome for sports development because I got a good stretch reflex and I was able to be very powerful and explosive, but it's not so great for being awesome at the bottom of a squat. So I didn't spend a lot of time in that position. So today what you're gonna see is a lot of time spent paused at the bottom position. Again, the weight's not super significant. It's just enough to put a slight challenge on the movement pattern, but not so much that technique breaks down. Form has to stay tight on these, okay? Same thing with the deadlift. Deadlift, I'm not gonna be lifting heavy weight today, but I'm gonna be doing it making sure my form is locked in and everything is good to go. You wanna practice how you play, and if you wanna lift with good technique, you want to practice having good technique. There's a time and a place for going balls to the wall and crushing yourself and pushing yourself to failure, but when you're trying to learn or relearn a movement pattern, that is not the correct time. So I'm doing this practice session today, and then in 2 or 3 days I will come back and I will do a actual hard workout for those muscle groups with more volume, more intensity, and movement patterns that are a little less complex, so they don't require as much from my brain. I can just kind of go through and work hard. I can focus more on the effort rather than the technique. Okay, so for example, just to give you an idea moving forward, today's patterning work is going to be with squats and deadlifts, light weights, good movement patterns, good technique. The next workout I may do things like glute ham raises, reverse hyperextensions, RDLs, lunges, leg press, things that you can work really hard at, but you don't have to stay super focused on technique. So let's jump right into this workout, or practice session I should say. Feel free to leave comments in the section below, and I'll see you at the end. Now, just after I got done telling you that I was only going to do perfect repetitions to get a good movement pattern, this is my last set, and I get out of the groove a little bit, so I stop. I was originally going to do 15 to 20 sets, but I ended up only being able to do 10 before I actually got a little bit of technique breakdown. So I'm staying tight in the hole, keeping good body posture, and then on the way up, my hips shoot up a little more for my liking. So again, it was light, but it wasn't perfect technique, which was the goal. So I dropped the weight down, then did several series with a shorter duration pause, kind of just a 1 second pause in the hole, and then powering back up, working on better technique. And you'll see it's light for me. The bar kind of pops off my shoulders at the top on a few of these reps. But again, I'm working on cueing the movement pattern, trying to get better at it. And again, my hip mobility is slowly improving, but it still has a little bit of work to go before I'm satisfied with how my squat looks. Again, I'm going until I essentially lose technique. So you'll see there, that's when I rack the bar. Next up, deadlifts. Now, on these, I'm resetting my grip and my stance every single rep. There's a time and a place for touch and go deadlifts, but there's also a time and a place for working technique and making sure you're doing everything right. On this, I'm really focusing on trying to keep my back locked in, get a good hip position, and then driving my hips through. Some things that I could work on here, I could probably get my hips a tad lower. I do tend to pull with higher hips, but I still could probably drop a little bit lower. And then I lose my chin a little bit on some of these reps, so I need to keep my chin packed a little better and work harder here. But again, I just got done doing 14 odd sets of squats. Even though it was lightweight, I was still starting to get a little bit tired, and this was the last set of these deadlifts where I'm just looking to repattern the lift and make sure it's good. From there, I wanted to get a little accessory work in, so I did want to build a little bit of fatigue. So I took the weight down fairly lightweight and did deficit stiff leg deadlifts, also called RDLs, deficit RDLs, or Romanian deadlifts. They're two in the same thing. But standing on a plate allows for a greater range of motion without the plates hitting the ground. One of the reasons this is a great exercise is because of the constant tension you get on the posterior chain. So you want to stretch down, keep a nice tight arch, and then power up using your hips and cantilevering the shoulders back. Last but not least, I decided to do a little calf work, pausing in both the stretch and the contracted position. I'm really working on trying to get a better range of motion. As you've seen from previous training videos, my range has been poor in my calf work in the contracted position, so I'm really trying to work hard to improve that. So I took the weight down. I'm using an empty machine, which is maybe 80 or 90 pounds on the yoke, which is not much, but at a body weight of 260, that adds up, and it ends up being about right for calf raises for me. So I'm eventually would like to get to a point where I can do this all day long with an empty sled, but right now my calves are weak and I got to get better at squeezing and contracting in that tightened position. So that's it for the workout for today. Pretty light, not something that's going to make me super sore. I just wanted to get a little bit of work in, a little bit of practice. There's nothing wrong with practicing the movements with light weights frequently. The lighter it is relative to your 1RM, the more often you can do it, and the less it'll impact your recovery. So if you need technique work, don't be afraid to do it often.